The Book Channel Online.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Harris Byers, and this is the Book Channel Online. We're here today at the Harlem Fine Arts Show in New York, and my guest, Leroy Campbell. Your art is wonderful, but we're not here to talk about art necessarily, but how art relates to books. And my authentic self.
My authentic self was really a prelude to my memoir. I wanted to give people some insight on my personal journey as a person and becoming this artist. So the book, like myself and my art, is multi-layered. It really talks about how art, culture, and embracing everything, and spirituality, and embracing everything authentic about yourself helped me find my calling and my purpose in life. And the book is thematic. You know, I focus on those foundations of my life, like education and religion, politics, and other aspects of my culture, to show that through those systems, I was able to be reconnected to who I am authentically, Leroy, and connect with this artistic ability that was part of my authentic self that was once suppressed. So the book has a lot of loose stories, right? Each loose story is about me, but they represent the themes that I just mentioned. And each loose story, you'll see a body of work that also chronicles my creative journey, retro period all the way up until now.
How long have you been an artist?
Well, as soon as you asked that question, this year marks 35 years that I've been a self-employed artist. I'm spiritually led. So 35 years this year is how long I've been doing what I'm doing.
Are you formally trained?
I'm a self-taught artist. Matter of fact, I learned how to draw and paint from tracing comic books. Matter of fact, the Marvel comics.
Really?
The thing that led me to tracing comic books was I was born with a birth defect, right? I was born a thalidomide baby. And some of the kids used to tease me about that. And so to recover emotionally, I would spend time with the comic books tracing them. And in the tracing is when I discovered, wow, you could draw, you had this artistic ability. And that process of creating was the catalyst, was the foundation for me to learn how to love myself and learn how to choose people to love me the way I love myself. But it was also that I had no idea that many years later it would be exactly my calling and my purpose in life, which is to use art to empower myself, but to also share that message with others, self-empowerment.
Since we have this platform to learn, tell thalidomide. Most people don't even know what that is or how that created the birth defect. I have an idea because I've read about it, but share why that happened to you.
Thalidomide was a drug that was given to pregnant mothers during the 1950s for their morning sickness. And the side effects of thalidomide was horrendous on children all over the world. Many of the children were born with no arms and no legs at all. I'm one of the blessed ones because it only stunted the growth on my left hand and my left foot. It kind of gave me more of a scoliosis than, I do have a mild scoliosis. But the thalidomide was the purpose of it was that was the purpose of it, was to help women have a lighter, a more comfortable morning sickness.
Well, wasn't it also used primarily in minorities?
It was poor people, but it was women, because it wasn't just, it probably was poor people all over the world, you know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't just here in America, it was Germany, all the countries where where women were using this drug, were given this drug. So it was poor and whomever, took it, I guess.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So you created these wonderful masterpieces. How many actual images are in this book?
Let's see, there's probably over 20-something images in the book, because each section gives you about at least 5 or 6, and so there's probably 6 or 7 sections in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's chronologizing it's a chronicle of your journey. And is there a particular place and time and space that is more prevalent than another?
I would say in the book, I talk about the period when I used to work at the hospital. High school, elementary school, I did no art. I was not interested in art. So throughout my elementary school years, I was not doing anything. And then I left the South and moved to the North. And in the book, I talk about being at the medical center. And at this nursing home, they had an art exhibition wall. And one of my coworkers knew that I had this ability to create, said you should participate. And it was then that I finally took my artistic ability serious. And right after that, I began to pursue art. So during the 1984, it was a turning point for me because I stayed with my art, and subsequently in 1992, I quit the medical field, and I've been self-employed as an artist ever since.
You were liberated.
I was liberated. I found my true walk. I found my path. Yes. Yeah, and that period was very strong because there was a lot of Afrocentric, a lot of black people who were, were self-determined and supportive of one another. And so that really made it possible for me to believe that this was what was my contribution to that effort. There was a Afrocentric movement in Brooklyn and in Harlem, and I wanted to be a part of that. And so that really helped me to jump full feet first into that movement.
So, two things. I want you to read a passage from your book.
Sure.
But I want to ask you also, what, in closing, after you read your passage, what advice would you give to aspiring artists?
Wow. Okay. I'm going to read Rendering Me Whole. I love to tell stories. When I tell stories, they sometimes help me burn out negative feelings and resolve old emotions. I listen when I tell my stories, which is interesting because it is as if I'm teaching myself as I impart to others. My hope is that when people hear my story, they find something they could use in their own lives to be inspired at best, or at least to be entertained. My desire is to be the highest expression of who I am. This is the foundation of my creative process. Through my paintings, I want the viewer to live in my art and experience the moments that rendered me whole. Thank you.
And advice?
Every artist have a path. For you to be the most impactful artist is for you to learn to be vulnerable and to share your own personal stories. Find your own voice. And once you find that voice, that will inform the choice of the medium that you will use that voice to speak. So find your voice, be vulnerable, allow yourself to tell your own stories, but allow yourself to be inspired by other artists.
Thank you. Thank you. We are so pleased to have Leroy Campbell here today at the Book Channel Online. I'm your host, Stephanie Harris Byers.
The Book Channel Online.